Let's jump right in. Imagine you're cruising at 30,000 feet. The seatbelt sign just dinged off and boom. You're hit with a scenario that's going to seriously test your emotional intelligence. Today in this explainer, we are diving deep into a legendary situational judgment test. It's used by top-tier airlines to screen their future cabin crew, and it goes by the name a piece of cake. But trust me, getting the right answer here, it is absolutely not a piece of cake.
So here's the deal. Put yourself right in the aisle of economy class. You're checking the catering, and you find out a single, unexpected celebration cake was loaded by mistake. Your team leader looks at you and says, let's use this to surprise and delight just one customer. That's the million-dollar question. Who do you choose to delight? You've got one cake and literally hundreds of passengers.
Now let's turn up the heat a little bit. You don't have a whole 12-hour long-haul flight to mull this over. You've got 15 minutes. Just 15 minutes for your group to evaluate the options, debate, and lock in a final decision. In the hyper-fast, super-regimented world of commercial aviation, that clock is always ticking. You gotta think critically, and you gotta do it fast.
But wait, here's the real kicker. There's a massive behavioral catch to this whole exercise. Your team must unanimously agree, and you are not allowed to vote. Seriously, think about the psychology behind that for a second. You can't just raise your hands, tally it up, and let the majority rule. Nope. This rule makes true teamwork and consensus absolutely mandatory. It forces you to use persuasion, active listening, and rock-solid logic. If you just default to a quick vote to save time, bam, you fail the test.
Okay, let's look at your options. Here is the exact lineup of passengers you've spotted in your cabin. We've got a newly married couple flying back from their honeymoon, a frequent flyer and her husband celebrating their anniversary, a 14-year-old solo traveler who actually looked pretty upset leaving the departure gate, some really noisy 10-year-old twin boys who are currently annoying everybody around them, a super excited elderly lady taking her very first flight, and finally, a former cabin crew employee traveling with a brand new baby. So, I want you to mentally lock in your choice right now. Who gets that cake?
All right, got your answer? Well, the ultimate gold standard choice here is the 14-year-old traveling alone. Now, hey, if you pick the honeymooners or maybe the elderly lady, you are definitely not alone, but you kind of miss the deeper layer of what this test is actually assessing. We're shifting gears here from the frantic pace of serving drinks to a much more grounded, deeply empathetic mindset. So why the teenager? Well, it's actually the absolute best choice. First off, this passenger needs immediate emotional support and reassurance. Remember, they were visibly upset during boarding. Secondly, young solo travelers are super vulnerable out there without a parent or guardian sitting next to them. Handing them this cake? That takes what might be a really scary journey and transforms it into a safe, incredibly meaningful memory. You see, you aren't just checking off a customer service box here. You are essentially performing emotional triage.
Let's actually weigh these options side by side. What we're really doing is balancing celebratory milestones against emotional vulnerability. I mean, the elderly lady's first flight, the honeymooners, the anniversary couple, the source material points out these are actually all good choices. But world-class, next-level hospitality, that prioritizes supporting the emotionally vulnerable over just, rewarding loyalty or a life event. Giving a cake to the honeymooners is a fun bonus for sure, but giving it to a scared teenager, that could literally change the entire trajectory of their day.
But hold on, we still have a whole cabin full of people, right? We can't just ignore everyone else. And this brings us to the really cool concept of holistic hospitality and the ripple effect. How do you make sure every single passenger feels special, even if they didn't get the cake? Well, you get creative. For the newlyweds, write them a nice handwritten note and offer to snap a photo for them. The anniversary couple, thank them for their loyalty and maybe offer a complimentary beverage. Those noisy twins, give them some coloring materials to positively channel that crazy energy. The elderly lady gets a fun first flight certificate, and you can offer the former crew mom some extra assistance with their baby. Boom! Everyone wins, and it literally costs the airline nothing.
So what does a winning response actually sound like in the interview room? Here's the exact gold standard answer. I would choose the 14-year-old traveling alone because they appeared upset and may need emotional support. Receiving the cake could turn a difficult journey into a positive and memorable experience. It's just so good, right? It's perfectly concise, it balances deep compassion with crystal clear logic, and it proves to the recruiters that you aren't just reacting to the loudest voice in the room. You're acting with profound intent.
And really, this pulls back the curtain on what airlines are truly looking for, because let's be real, at the end of the day, this was never actually about a piece of cake. They are testing for empathy,
emotional intelligence, attention to individual needs, creativity, and a hardcore commitment to exceptional service. These airlines want to know without a doubt that you can read a room or, a metal tube flying through the sky and pinpoint exactly who needs your help the most, all while effortlessly managing the rest of the ecosystem.
Which brings us to the big takeaway to wrap up this explainer. Ask yourself, who needs your empathy today? You see, you don't actually need to be pushing a beverage trolley at cruising altitude to use this framework. Every single day, in our offices, our group chats, our homes, we are looking at our own lineup of people. Some are celebrating, some are being super disruptive, and some are quietly upset. So the next time you have a metaphorical piece of cake to give out, whether that's just a bit of your time, a quick compliments, or a helping hand, try to look past the obvious choices. Look for the vulnerability. Because real, genuine human connection, it's all about making people feel safe exactly when they need it most. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you next time.